Ladies and gents, if your man doesn't willingly sacrifice his hand for you, then you better leave him. And if your man doesn't take a bullet for you, then you better kill him yourself, because now we know the standard. And if you go any lower than that, then you are underestimating your worth. So this is BLFANEDITS, and I'm back with the KinnPorsche episode 7 spoilers and episode 6 recap video. As always, I'm going to start with the recap first and then move on to the spoilers for episode 7. This episode got me in my feels. This was the type of episode where you just sit down with a glass of wine and just cry and let all your emotions out. This episode was simply beautiful, possibly the best episode in the whole BL world so far. The raw emotions and chemistry portrayed in this tugged at my heartstrings and kept me teary-eyed throughout the episode. Episode 6 begins in the jungle where all the bodyguards are in search of Kinn and Porsche, who are nowhere to be found. Pichan, the head of all bodyguards, instructs everyone that they will keep searching for Kinn and Porsche until they are found. Then we see Kinn and Porsche deep in the jungle, bickering like literal children. They end up in a fight to decide which direction to go, and then Kinn points at their handcuffs and says, "Do you think I love being stuck with you?" Well, Kinn, yes, you do love being stuck with him. That's why you hid the fact that you knew how to remove those handcuffs till the end of your time in the woods with Porsche. Kinn is such a sly fox and I love it. Also, Kinn is acting all angry and frustrated here, but inside he's super happy and excited to get all this alone time with Porsche. Another thing I loved about this episode is that we got to see the real Kinn, laughing and smiling like a normal person. He genuinely looks like he's walking on clouds, and it really made my heart happy. When they drank water from the stream and laid together, Porsche was holding Kinn's hand, which also showed that Porsche was equally happy to be with Kinn and was loving every single moment of being in such close proximity of Kinn without any boundary or judgment. Another thing I loved in this episode was the beautiful cinematography. Honestly, their colorists should be awarded because the tones and hues portrayed in each scene perfectly set the mood of the scene, adding another layer of emotion to the scene. Kinn and Porsche keep walking to find shelter when they came across an abandoned truck. They decide to spend the night there. Here we see the vulnerable side of Kinn, and Porsche gets to know that he's really not the know-it-all he seems to appear. Although Kinn is really clever and intimidating, he's kind of bad at practical things, which makes sense since he has grown up in a wealthy household and never had to experience any hardship like Porsche. So this was Porsche's time to gloat and show how street smart he is. The way Porsche is looking at Kinn while he's trying to light the fire just shows that he's falling deeper in love with Kinn as he sees this childlike side of Kinn. When they sleep under the stars together and Porsche is keeping watch, he feels an overwhelming sense of protection towards Kinn, like he wants to shield his innocence that he just saw and never let anyone or anything dull his childlike spark. Finally, we have come to the point where we will see Vegas and Pete's story begin. Head bodyguard Chan has ordered Pete to follow Vegas and keep an eye on his every move. Kun has a doubt that the second family is behind the recent abduction as well as attacks on Porsche. Pete is waiting for Vegas in a dingy alleyway. What poor Pete doesn't know is that Vegas is fully aware that Pete and Paul are following him. In this moment, I wanted to tell Pete that I know things will start getting difficult for you from now on, but you have to hang in there because you are about to bring these two boys out from terrifying darkness into sunny light. They are going to love you and respect you forever, and you will fall in love and find your person, which is what you always wanted. I chuckled when Pete pretended to kiss Paul's neck, and I was thinking, what does Vegas think of this? I bet he's laughing his head off and can't wait to sink his beastly teeth into innocent puppy Pete. Just when he thought Vegas was gone, Vegas came back with food and condoms for Pete. I bet he purposely left the condoms in the bag to tease Pete and terrify him even more. When Vegas patted on the window, although Pete was petrified, he put on a brave front. But look at Vegas, he looks deathly serious. There is not a smile on his face. Also, when he grabbed the condoms back from Pete, he held Pete's hands tightly, indicating his dreadful intentions towards Pete. Then we see this wholesome fish catching scene, which I think was put in to show that Kinn and Porsche here are on equal footing. There is no boss, no subordinate. They are both just two human beings genuinely enjoying each other's company and learning from each other. There is no need to be afraid of showing emotions or hiding true intentions. If you're happy, you're happy, and that's the end of it. Kin genuinely looks like he's having the time of his life here. They enjoy the fish of their labor, and then comes the bathing scene. How can the chemistry between two people be so raw and vehement that you forget they're acting and just feel like they are being themselves? This is exactly how we would behave with our partners if we were bathing in a waterfall, and this is exactly how it was shown in this drama. The playing with each other's hands, showing each other their floating legs, hugging, kissing, just two people who are deeply in love. Honestly, at this point, I was genuinely confused if they are really lost in the forest or are they on their freaking honeymoon, because that's what it looks like to be. Honestly, even I didn't have that much fun on my honeymoon, and I was honestly kinda jealous of these two. One thing to note here is that the kiss was brief because Kin almost immediately pulled away. I suspect that's because he feels guilty of what happened that night. Like he later said in the episode, he had crossed Porsche's boundary and he had still not asked forgiveness for that. Porsche is weighing in the dark when Kin quips that Porsche's sausage is small, and Porsche didn't contest that statement. That means Porsche agrees that Kin's fishing rod is much bigger than Porsche's. Interesting. Very, very extremely interesting. Kin and Porsche share with each other what they really want to do in life. Porsche would love to open a bar on the seaside and just sell whatever he fancies eating that day, while Kin would love to be a singer. I think you never really tell someone the core truth about what you really want unless you deeply care for that person and trust them wholeheartedly. It is safe to say that at this point we all know, and they both know, that they have completely and utterly fallen in love with each other. Porsche was at a loss for words because he did not expect, after all that happened back in Bangkok, that Kin wanted to apologize for all the wrongs he did to him. Porsche could only hold back his tears and nod silently, accepting his words of remorse. Kin finds Porsche sleeping on his shoulder and his face shows how content he is living in this moment. He wants to be foolishly delusional at this moment and live like this forever. This is the only truth and no other truth exists besides this. Kin wants to believe that there is no other reality outside of this beautiful forest, this abandoned truck, and the love of his life sleeping right next to him. From this point onwards, Kin and Porsche will never be able to sleep alone again. If they are not next to each other, sleep will evade them. This is what the forest has done to them. It's like that Brokeback Mountain moment when Jack tells Ennis while he was laying in his arms, "Brokeback got us good, don't it?" In the same way, the memories of this forest will forever change Kin and Porsche. The next morning, Kin hears his people calling his name, so Kin and Porsche try to go to the other side of the cliff, but unfortunately they fall on their faces. I would have died on the spot and reincarnated into another life if it was me who fell like that, but I have no idea how these two survived the fall. Nevertheless, they survived and now they have to figure out how to get on top of the cliff. This scene where they are sitting facing each other signifies a lot of things. I did not infer it myself, but someone on Twitter said that it looks like the rock behind Kin is closing in on him, almost like it's crushing him, while the rock behind Porsche is slanted, providing him support and letting him breathe. I think this is a beautiful metaphor to show the burden Kin has to bear in his life and the reason why he is attracted to free-spirited Porsche. Kin admits to Porsche that he doesn't want to get out of here. He is happy just being here with Porsche. There are no burdens, no schedules, no responsibilities weighing on his shoulders. He gets to be himself when he's around Porsche and nobody else. Hearing that, Porsche felt warmth in his heart and he tells Kin that he likes this carefree side of Kin. Hearing Porsche say that he likes this Kin felt a sudden pang of guilt in his heart, and for the first time he sincerely apologizes for the night. He apologized for the line that should not have been crossed. Porsche admits that no one has ever crossed that line with him except for Kin, but he forgives Kin for all that happened. Kin feels a huge sense of relief hearing that, and a weight has lifted off his shoulders. Then Porsche has an idea that can get Kin and him out of the pit. If one of their hands is cut, the other could release themselves from the handcuffs, climb on top of the cliff and pull the other one up. Kin goes along with the plan and they play a game of rock, paper, scissors to determine whose hand will be severed. What comes next will make you weep and lie in a puddle of your own tears because Porsche willingly offers to sacrifice his hand for Kin. Kin is taken aback at Porsche's sacrificial offer and it triggers a strange emotion within Kin's heart. At this moment, Kin decides to let Porsche go. He wants Porsche to live a life that he himself cannot live. He wants Porsche to be a free man. He loves him, so he wants to let him go and not be dragged in the cruel mafia world with him. Kin reveals that there is no need for any hand cutting and he knew how to unlock the handcuffs from the beginning. They climb out of the cliff and that's when Kin asks Porsche to run. He will tell everyone that Porsche died in the woods. He can go ahead and start a new life. Porsche is reluctant, but Kin insists that he can leave and never come back. Porsche asks why does Kin want to let him free. Kin replies it's because he feels indebted to Porsche as Porsche offered to sacrifice his hand for him, and also because he crossed the line with him. And lastly, the real reason, which is that it made Kin happy to see Porsche smile. And Porsche will only be able to smile if he's far, far away from Kin and his cruel world. Porsche leaves Kin and goes away, but not without kissing him passionately. A kiss that he initiated first, showing Kin that he likes him a lot. Kin is heartbroken to see him leave. As he was bellowing over his decision to let Porsche go, suddenly the enemies confront him. They shoot at him. Kin evades their shots and hides behind a rock. That's when Porsche comes back to protect Kin. Porsche snatches the gun from one of the shooters and kills him, while another shooter takes aim at Porsche and fires a shot. Kin sees him aiming at Porsche, so he quickly jumps in front of Porsche, shielding him, and in turn gets shot himself. The bullet unfortunately not only hits Kin but Porsche as well. The look of pure terror in Porsche's eyes when he realized that Kin had been shot is heartbreaking to see. This is when Chan and the bodyguards arrive to find Kin and Porsche lying on the ground injured, and the episode ends. Overall, episode 6 has by far been my favorite episode. It was emotional and heartwarming to watch. Every scene of this episode was memorable, including the little snippet of interaction between Pete and Vegas. Now let's move on to spoilers for episode 7. Although in the preview of episode 7 we saw that Porsche might be working for Vegas in a disguise to find the truth behind the recent attacks on him, I'm going by the novel, which is different from what was shown in the preview. I think it will be interesting to see the difference between what happens in the novel and the actual episode next week. Kin and Porsche are both admitted to the hospital. Porsche wakes up after 2 full days and finds himself surrounded by Jom, Tem and Che. His throat feels dry and he is very thirsty. As soon as Porsche wakes up, he asks, "How is Kin?" Nobody says anything. Blood drains from Porsche's face and he asks them if Kin was dead. He tried to immediately get up and orders them to take him to see Kin. Tem and Jom try to explain that Kin was not dead, but Porsche couldn't hear them. He just wanted to see Kin immediately. That's when Pete enters the room laughing and explains him that Kin is not dead but lying next to his room. Porsche relaxes a little bit and orders Jom, Tem and Che to go and buy him some food. He then asks Pete if they found anything about the attackers. Pete said they haven't found anything yet. Pete informs Porsche that he does not have to worry. KinnPorsche will not remain silent and will find out who is behind all these attacks, and it looks like there is a mole in the house. Someone from inside is doing all this stuff. Porsche then points at the other room and asks about the condition of the person in that room. Pete tells him that the bullet didn't reach his vital organs, but he did lose a lot of blood, so he's currently being treated. As Pete and Porsche were talking, Pichan and KinnPorsche enters the room and tells Porsche that it's too dangerous for him and Che to live in Porsche's house, so Porsche and his brother Che should move into the main house until everything is resolved. As KinnPorsche and Porsche were talking, Thanakun enters the room and shouts loudly, "Bang, bang, bang," scaring everyone. He keeps pestering Porsche to tell him about the jungle and what happened there, but Porsche doesn't pay much attention to his ramblings. But then Kun says that he came to let everyone know that Kinn is awake. Suddenly Porsche sat up. Kun asks, "How is he?" To which Thanakun replies, "He said he wants to go to the forest again." Hearing this, Kun takes his leave and goes to Kinn's room to check in on him. As everyone is talking, Kim, the youngest brother, comes in and asks Che to come home with him. Porsche is confused as F looking at this interaction unfold in front of him. Kim and Che continued talking as they were very close to each other, and Porsche is just sitting there dumbfounded, wondering how the hell do they even know each other, let alone interact with each other like this. Che goes to the main house with Kim after asking Porsche's permission. Pete said that he will look after Porsche at night and stay with him in the room. Porsche asks Pete, who is looking after Kinn? To which Pete responds that Big has monopolized the room and is not letting anyone enter Kinn's room. He's alone taking care of Kinn almost obsessively. Porsche laid in bed thinking of Kinn, but when he couldn't sleep till 3 a.m., he finally decides to ask Arm if he thinks Kinn is awake or sleeping right now. Arm says it's 3 a.m. so obviously Kinn is sleeping and Big has already left the room. Porsche says he wants to go and check himself if Kinn is sleeping or not. Arm reluctantly agreed to take limping Porsche to Kinn's room, but Big is there to block his way. Arm and Porsche get into a verbal fight with Big when Pichan interrupts them. Arm explains that Porsche wants to visit Kinn but Big is not letting them go in. Pichan says go ahead, letting Porsche into Kinn's room. Porsche looks at Kinn's handsome face shining brightly in the dimly lit room. Porsche smiles at him thinking, lying here like that, do you think you are a hero or something? He gently runs his fingers over Kinn's abdomen where he was shot. Suddenly a firm hand grasps him, surprising Porsche. He asks Kinn, did I wake you? Kinn's dark eyes look at Arm and he shouts, don't you have anything to do? Hearing this, Arm springs up the chair and bolts out of the room. Kinn grabs Porsche's waist and makes him sit on the bed beside him. As Kinn and Porsche are talking, suddenly Big comes in. Porsche tries to escape Kinn's hug, but Kinn hugged him even tighter. What are you doing there? Kinn said in an annoyed voice. Big was surprised to see the scene in front of him. Color drained from his face and he looks at them wide-eyed in shock. Big stammers and says that he thought Kinn was asleep, so he came in the room to ask Porsche to leave. Get out. If I don't call you, don't come in, Kinn said in a dark voice. Big immediately leaves the room with a sullen face. Kinn then convinces Porsche to sleep with him in his bed because he has gotten used to sleeping with Porsche and now he can't sleep alone. Thus, Porsche and Kinn sleep soundly in the same bed in Kinn's hospital room. Porsche woke up the next morning to see that Kinn's friends, Daytime, his friends Jomtam, Arm and Pete were all standing there looking at them sleeping together. Porsche jolts up, ashamed, and runs to his own room. Everyone is teasing Porsche about spending the night with Kinn, when Time comes in with cake and tells Porsche that Kinn has sent cake for him to eat. Time also said that he needs to eat the cake or Kinn will be sad. Porsche bashfully accepts the cake and everyone is teasing him again. Porsche ate the cake and rested in his room the whole day, but when night came, he was unable to sleep again. This time, Kinn knocked on the door and came to Porsche's room to sleep with him, as he was too unable to sleep without Porsche. In the morning, Porsche and Kinn wake up again sleeping soundly as usual. Kinn goes to his room to rest and they both spend the day resting and recovering. It was night time again and Porsche is desperately waiting for Kinn to knock on his door again. At 9 p.m. there is a knock on the door. Porsche's heart races, but to his disappointment, it's Vegas who enters the room. Vegas inquired about Porsche's condition and looked at the bruise on his hand. To Porsche's surprise, Vegas came close and kissed his bruise and tells him to get better. He then proceeds to nonchalantly cut some fruit up for Porsche. Porsche is internally screaming because he wants to kick Vegas out quickly before it's time for Kinn to come into the room. But Vegas has no intention to go. Porsche grabs the knife to quickly cut the fruit and eat it, but accidentally cuts his hand. That's when Kinn comes in and looks at both of them. He asks Vegas to call the nurse to put some dressing on Porsche's finger. Vegas smiles and leaves the room. Kinn is angry. He asks Porsche why was Vegas here. They both get into a little bit of an argument when Vegas walks in with a band-aid. Kinn asks Vegas to leave and let Porsche get some rest. Vegas leaves reluctantly, but Kinn is still mad. He wonders why he came so late at night looking for Porsche. Kinn applies band-aid on Porsche's finger and kisses his finger. They both sleep together again, and when Porsche wakes up the next day, Kinn has already gone to his room. Porsche goes to Kinn's room after being discharged only to find him talking to yet another handsome young guy named Meg. Kinn asks one of the bodyguards to take Meg along with them to the house. Porsche, Meg and the bodyguards all sat in the car when Porsche asks Pete about Meg. Pete responds that Meg is Kinn's good friend. They reach the house. Porsche and Che have been given a brand new room. Kunkon meets Meg and invites him to stay for dinner, to which Meg agrees. It's nighttime now and Porsche is unable to sleep without Kinn. To pass some time, he opens his phone and starts looking at HeteroCon. To his surprise, the man in the video reminds him of Kinn and his body responds accordingly. Just when it got good, Kinn calls him. Kinn asks Porsche to come to the hospital, but as they were talking, Vegas enters the room and he even brought sandwiches and bubble tea. He insisted that Porsche eats and drinks something. He proceeds to make Porsche drink bubble tea, but it accidentally spills on Vegas. Porsche panics and tries to clean the stain on Vegas' shirt. Vegas smiles and removes his shirt. Porsche grabs Vegas' shirt and takes it to the bathroom to wash the stain. Vegas smiles and asks why is Porsche embarrassed to look at him. Porsche replies that he's not. Vegas then asks Porsche to look at him if he's not embarrassed. Then Vegas proceeds to forcefully turn Porsche to look at him, hurting his bruise. Porsche winces in pain when suddenly Kun enters the room at the right time and shouts at Vegas and kicks him out of the house. Porsche grabs his stuff and runs to the hospital to see Kinn. Kinn was really happy to see Porsche and they share a deep, meaningful kiss. Kinn looks at the open wound which was accidentally prodded by Vegas. He gets angry and Porsche and Kinn get into another argument. Porsche decides to leave the room. The next day, Porsche and his friends meet at a bar and surprise, surprise, Vegas is here to meet Porsche again. When Vegas and Porsche are talking, there is another attack on Porsche, but Vegas runs with Porsche and protects him. He takes Porsche to his car and they hide in his car. Porsche was wounded above his eyebrow, so Vegas offers to clean his wound. He comes close to Porsche's face to clean his blood and there is an uncomfortable proximity between them. Vegas then says that Kinn and his family are not taking care of him properly, letting him get attacked again and again. He offers Porsche to come work with him and holds his face in his hands. Porsche asks Vegas to let him go, but he comes closer and closer. That's when a loud screech of a car is heard. Kinn bolts out of his car, opens Porsche's car door and takes his hand and shoves him inside his own car angrily and drives off with him. I think this is where episode 7 will finish. The next episode sounds even more exciting and I'm expecting a lot of heart-thumping moments. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts about last episode and your expectations for the next episode. That's all from me today. I will see you all soon with a new video. Bye!